Denis Cyplenkov may be preparing a different strategy for the Ermes Gasparini super match. Hello arm wrestling fans, in this video we will talk about Engin and Ivan Matyushenko's discussion about a hypothetical Arsen versus Devon super match. Then Denis Cyplenkov versus David Dadikyan practice pull. Does Denis have something to offer to Ermes Gasparini? And finally, Brad Grundy versus Pavlo Derbedyenyev super match, which happened yesterday. Engin and Ivan were discussing lots of hypothetical situations around Arsen Liliev's comeback. One of the question was, what if Arsen returns to his prime peak shape and Devon drops down to 105 kilos? In that situation, who is going to win in that 105 kilo super match? Ivan said that Arsen Liliev would defeat Devon Larratt, which was quite shocking to hear, but Ivan was speaking from experience, which we are going to talk about in a minute. First of all, Ivan said that Arsen is stylistically very uncomfortable and very difficult for Devon. He has an explosive top roll with a very good amount of side pressure. All of these things can be really difficult for Devon to deal with. Now let's talk about Ivan versus Arsen. Ivan said that in one of the matches, he was able to force Arsen in a hook and still he couldn't beat him. Arsen pulled through that. So it wasn't like Arsen was completely one-dimensional where he couldn't do anything if the match gets stopped. We have seen in some of the matches in the past, for example the Richard Lupkis match, where Richard was able to stop the match but still he couldn't do anything after that. Same goes for multiple rounds in the John Brzezinski match as well. John did put the brakes on in a couple of rounds, I guess, or at least one, and Arsen still beat him. Against a tired Denis Cyplenkov, when there was a balance of power between these two, the match stopped in Denis Cyplenkov's King's move. Still Arsen pulled through that. So he can do some things even if the match stops. But I think the problem is many of us also considered Ermes Gasparini to be a stylistically difficult match for Devon as well. And we all saw how that turned out to be. Ermes Gasparini's wrist buckled in front of Devon Larratt's pronation. So I think the same thing will happen to prime Arsen Liliev as well. I don't see him having many chances. Denis Cyplenkov was once again seen practicing with David Dadikyan. First thing that I noticed in that video was Denis was looking small. To me, clearly he was looking smaller than what he was in the Devon Larratt super match. There can be a reason for that, because for about 10 days Denis couldn't train. He only wanted to relax and sleep according to his own words because of the cold that he had. Now he's back in the gym, and that maybe took away about 10-15 days from Denis Cyplenkov's training, because he will need another week or so to get back into the shape in which he was before he got that cold. No issue, Denis will for sure return to best shape, whatever is possible at this time, but giving away 2-3 weeks from your training in such crucial times can be a thing that you cannot afford multiple times. So Denis will have to be extra motivated and extra hardworking in the gym from now on. For some reason, they were hiding the ready goes in this video. Maybe Denis has stopped gripping so low. Maybe he has started taking a high grip this time, and that's why they were hiding only the ready goes. This is some hopefulness from my side. I hope this is the case. Nobody likes to see that low grip from Denis anymore because he's an outside puller right now. So Dadikyan was training with Denis and trying to prepare him for a flop wrist press position. Now this strategy can be interesting because we have never seen Dadikyan in this place. So it must be to train Denis Cyplenkov, and we know that Ermes Gasparini has a great flop press. So is it some kind of strategy that Denis is trying to develop? Well, once again, I hope so. Because the only way Denis is going to beat Ermes is by taking his wrist, and if Ermes loses his wrist, he will for sure transition into a flop press, which can be difficult for Denis to deal with. And eventually, he may need to dip below the table into a King's move. As a Denis Cyplenkov fan, it was kind of heartbreaking for me to see Denis not go in a King's move against Devon before losing those rounds. Well, it was easy for us to say, but maybe Devon has gotten so strong and he's already so technical that people cannot even King's move against him. I don't remember anyone preventing Michael Todd from getting into a King's move, and Devon Larratt did that back in 2021. So maybe the same case was in the Denis match as well. Denis wanted to go there, but he couldn't. There was no point in trying to go there. So I think Denis should embrace the under the table arm wrestling, and I don't mean it in a disrespectful way, because I have never seen Denis Cyplenkov's shoulder go below the table. I have never seen the referees wanting to warn Denis to stand up. It just doesn't happen. Denis respectfully follows all of the rules. But when we saw him against guys like Dave Chaffee, against guys like Andrei Pushkar, against guys like Arsen when he was tired, so whenever there was a balance of power, Denis used to go under the table in a king's move. This time there are many more guys who can have a balance of power against Denis because he's not in his prime anymore. So that's why I think he needs to hit that king's move more and more. So while Derbedyenyev isn't a flop presser and his flop press may be half as effective as Ermes Gasparini, which is clearly visible on Cyplenkov's face because he was laughing while holding that, still Denis needs to prepare for that because the match will go there if Denis is strong enough to force the match there. So Grundy versus Pavlo Derbedyenyev. Yesterday this match happened in the Florida Arm Wrestling League. First round was won by Pavlo in a very dominant top roll fashion. Single second flash pin, no competition at all. And yet I'm seeing many comments that Pavlo got tired just after winning a single round. And to me this doesn't make any sense because he flash pinned his opponent in a single round. The slip also wasn't difficult. So clearly Brad was that good. He had a good hit over Pavlo in the second round. He took his hand, and more than 90% of the elite level arm wrestlers are going to get tired once they have to battle it out with a flop press. And that's exactly what happened there. It was no endurance problems from Pavlo Derbedyenyev's side. So it was a little bit shocking and surprising to see Brad beat Pavlo, although I've heard that he has already done that in the past as well. So this kind of marks Brad Grundy's arrival at the top of North American rankings. Right now in the 242 pound division or below 105 kilos, I will say that there are only a couple of guys above him. First one will be Todd Hutchings obviously, and the second guy who is close to him in my opinion is Matt Mask. John Brezink would be after that. So Brad Grundy is already there. He faced Kyle Hutchinson at East versus West. He's 1-0 in his super matches at East versus West. So I think he will be getting more and more opportunities in the future. And I think I mentioned Pavlo, but it was Chan Shaw that Brad Grundy defeated in the past. So he's already legit. These are the top 2 comments from the previous video, and these are the members only comments. Thanks for watching, like the video and subscribe.